So when we think about building routes, so we're talking about route building and envisioning, okay, where do we want to take people? What kind of walking experience do we want people to have? So one of the things that will come up, depending on where you are, of course, but largely speaking, is how, what barriers get in the way of connecting this experience that I want people to have. A lot of people choose to do routes and parks and to keep it easy, and that's fine, and we love that. But we also really encourage leaders to tell a broader story of walking with the tools that they have in their neighborhood or their own interests. So what that means is, let's say we're in a large park here in Denver right now, and we've got a busier street right here, artery. We've got tons of these all over the Denver metro area. You probably have your own version of what that looks like. Large roadways, large arteries that move through our living environments that keep us from easily accessing new trails, new or different parks, different trails or destinations that are on the other side. And so how we participate with those barriers or with those intersections or those roads to continue our loop, to build our route, is a really important story for how we lead this walking movement, essentially. That we're a connection-focused walking movement. So how are we activating a connection with the very trails and destinations and parks that are within the places we live, work, and play? And how can we get there by foot? How can we walk there? And so you scouting the route and finding a way to, okay, where on this busy street is the intersection with the light that makes it safer? So maybe you start there. Where is there an underpass under the highway or the small, large artery? Where does the trail just loop? Does it end? Is there a goat path that's built for pedestrians and they've made their own way around the tree to the actual grocery store rather than the sidewalk that doesn't even go to the grocery store? So what I'm inviting you to do is, don't be afraid of the large intersections and the large roads if there's a safe way to guide people through there, to tell a story, and to ultimately bring them to a trail and a park that you want to build into your route. So a lot of times with our long distance trips especially, I always I start people at a cafe on a main street. I take them through a large park or a college campus or somewhere that can calm people down and get them, into a good space of connection. And then I might take them through some neighborhoods and see what the neighborhoods are like. And then I might take them through the historic district. And then I might take them maybe for 30 minutes through some of the larger strip malls and the big busy roadways so that they can feel some of the tension when we're ultimately getting to the beautiful lake that's on the other side of the town. That would be the only way we could get there by foot, is going through that busy. It's a real story of how people move by foot. And I think that's an important opportunity for us as we think about leading walking trips. So when we're talking about route scouting and thinking about how do we actually build this walking experience. So one of the things that comes up is how do we be flexible and open and creative with where we're walking, but also safe, and making sure that the people that are on our experience feel comfortable. So there's a lot of ways to think through this, and it obviously depends a lot on where you're doing the walk. So if it's a trail and it has a loop, that's fairly simple, especially if you outline exactly what kind of trail you're going to be walking people through. But when we start thinking about neighborhoods, cities, even suburban sprawl areas, we have a lot to consider, and we have a lot of options potentially depending on where we are. So one of the things you always want to be mindful of is when you're walking on these maybe and often older streets or streets that don't have great facilities for pedestrians, you always want people to be walking against traffic. You want the pedestrian to make the decision, is the car paying attention as it's coming close, and we can veer off. Bikers, as you know, go with traffic. Pedestrians go against. So you want to always be watching for when is the group walking by default and they're just taking over the rural street, or they're taking over the small neighborhood. It happens all the time. So in your route planning, be mindful. If I'm going to be taking people down a rural road that doesn't have sidewalks, people will generally default to just take over the whole street, and they won't be thinking about where they should be walking. It's your job to kind of help them. All right, guys, let's move over to the left side of the street so we're walking against traffic. So moving into creativity around route building, we're standing in an alley in downtown Denver, and alleys are great ways to cut off or change or reshape or rethink or add an element of creativity and invitation into city street walking. Throw people off, invite them into the alley. It's important for you to probably walk the alley first. So when we think about this route scouting conversation, all of these things hopefully are being done by you first to take notes on, okay, there's 3 aggressive dogs down the alley, so let's do a different alley. Or maybe the alley on the other side has alley art, and that would be a great way to take people to the park rather than on the busy street. So there's a lot of ways you can do it that can involve alleys, that can involve what sometimes are called goat paths, which I mentioned in another video, where you have a little dirt path that pedestrians have created to get to a practical destination that might end up being your starting location at the end of your full loop. So when you do this, just really be mindful of creativity and be very aware of you as a walker participant when you're out scouting the route. When are you feeling nervous? When are you feeling unsafe? When are you feeling energized? And allow yourself to create the route as you go. So I'm starting with that frame because it's important to have the spontaneous encounters that you have as a leader when you're scouting the route. Let and allow those to come into how you eventually build your walking experience. So one of the things to consider when you're building a walking route is that when you take people out into the public realm, through alleys, through roads, through streets, you're going to run into things that just show up. And so it's really important that you scout not only your immediate route, but that you have a sense of what's around. What are the options? What are the kind of the artery finger, the fingers that sprawl around your route, so that you know where you can maybe detour folks if someone isn't able to keep up, or they need to leave early, or something comes up, that you know how you can quickly get them back to the starting location. So just be mindful of this stuff will happen. It doesn't happen obviously all the time, but just be creative enough to know how to navigate people around if it does come up. We're here, closing, thinking about just all of these next steps and all of this stuff that that you walked through with the videos that we provided, the invitations for route building and just building relationships with businesses, and with all of that in mind, as we think about just closing some of these next steps, I really want to anchor you into the why. Why are we doing this? So when we think about the mental, the emotional, the physical, the spiritual, the community benefit of doing this work, we're really changing the game. We connect with ourselves, we connect with others, and we connect with the places we live, work, and play. And it feels really simple sometimes when we think about walking together or walking, but it's not happening enough. And so just be encouraged to anchor into that why for yourself. We're all going to come at it from different places. So just know that, and don't be shy. Be intentional to bring that into when you go out scouting your routes, and when you think about your walk, that you're enjoying it and you're connecting to those benefits, and really so much bigger than the details of the how and the what. That if we're all anchored in the why, we're going to get a lot of beautiful things done, and really the most important things. So take that with you as an encouragement into how you get started, into next steps, and to have fun, be open, give yourself your own space and time to be engaged with the spontaneous as you think about your routes and get outside. And don't hesitate to ask us for help. You have 150 to 250 other walking movement leaders at your side that can give you tips, that can come with you on your walks. So just be encouraged. And trust the process, your process. Reach out to us when you need to, and just just know that we're so grateful that you're a part of this really, really beautiful and really, really needed invitation to help people connect more by foot. Thanks.